white female executive suspected a black cleaner at her company of stealing confidential data and secretly followed him after hours. But instead of a thief, she found him quietly teaching programming to underprivileged children. Her shock deepened when she learned he was once a gifted systems architect. So when the company faced a major tech crisis, she made an unexpected choice. She trusted him, and what happened next changed the company's fate. Before we dive in this story, let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Sarah Jenkins, 35, embodied success within the hierarchy of Ascent Innovations. With sharp, discerning green eyes that missed nothing, she'd rocketed through Ascent's ranks on the back of ingenious market strategies and ruthless efficiency. A single mother to 10-year-old Ben, she understood sacrifice. After a bitter divorce from an unfaithful husband, Sarah had built walls around herself, trusting spreadsheets more than people. Appointed CEO 6 months prior, she governed Ascent with formidable competence and reserved suspicion. Sarah's innate vigilance, the very trait that had propelled her to the top, began to pivot towards an unexpected corner. The first anomaly she noticed was while reviewing security protocols late one night. The new CFO had mentioned finding his computer slightly moved one morning. When Sarah requested a month's worth of footage, a disturbing pattern emerged. Daniel Hayes, a 42-year-old cleaner with dark skin and distinctive curly hair, strikingly different from the majority of Ascent's office staff, was accessing areas beyond his clearance, using computers after hours, sometimes inserting what looked like storage devices into ports. "This is the third time this week," she murmured, squinting at the grainy footage of Daniel entering the server room at 11:43 p.m., long after his shift should have ended. He emerged 40 minutes later, slipping something into his pocket. In that moment, the CEO's sharp gaze locked onto the blurry image of a maintenance worker. Sarah's cold fury simmered by the next morning. She summoned the head of security, Officer Miller, to her office. "What do we know about this cleaner?" she asked, sliding Daniel's employee file across her desk like a silent accusation. Officer Miller shrugged, his expression unconcerned. "Hayes, quiet guy, reliable. Been here about 4 years, no complaints. That's about it." Sarah picked up Daniel Hayes's thin file, flipping quickly through the pages. "A man with access to our entire building at night, and that's all we know?" Sarah's voice was sharp, laced with disbelief. The file read, Daniel Hayes, 42, prior employment, various. No college degree, single father, emergency contact Mrs. Clara Hayes, his mother. Perfect attendance record, minimum wage plus standard benefits. His job function nowhere included access to high security areas or the use of executive computers. The discrepancy gnawed at her. Subconsciously, the image of Daniel, a man of color in a cleaning role, seemed to reinforce her unconscious bias. She was used to seeing people like him in service positions, and her suspicion, though unspoken, was reinforced by that pattern. Over the next few days, Daniel's presence in Ascent became clearer than ever. Sarah started noticing him. She observed him wiping down the boardroom glass while her executive team debated quarterly forecasts. His reflection glided across the presentation for a fleeting moment before continuing his work. Was he reading the confidential numbers displayed on screen, she wondered. Suspicion festered, burrowing into her daily operations. This unsettling feeling, a miner's scratch on the perfect surface of control she always maintained, bothered Sarah. It wasn't a direct threat, but a deviation from the order she cherished. Later that week, as Ascent braced for a major product launch just 3 weeks away, Sarah called Officer Miller into her office again. "We have a major product launch in 3 weeks," she reminded him, her voice taut with stress. "If any proprietary tech leaks—" "You want me to fire him? We can do it quietly." Sarah considered. In her mind, 2 currents warred. One was prudence, wanting to eliminate any risk swiftly. The other was curiosity, a small voice whispering that something was off about this simple picture. Daniel had been at Ascent for years. Why start industrial espionage now? And if he was stealing data, why be so blatant? This last question, a rare flicker of logic in the storm of suspicion, saved Daniel. "Not yet. I want to know what he's doing first, who he's working for." She had decided to find out for herself. This decision wasn't just about corporate security. It was about satisfying her own compulsion, about filling the logical hole Daniel had carved in Sarah's perfect world. Perhaps deep down there was also a reluctance to admit her unconscious bias might be wrong. The ruthlessness and efficiency that had propelled Sarah to CEO now channeled themselves down an unexpected path. That Friday, Sarah canceled dinner plans and stayed late, changing into casual clothes kept for gym emergencies. When Daniel's shift ended at 10 p.m., she followed him to the parking lot, keeping her distance as his beat-up Honda Civic rolled out. The car left the affluent neighborhoods surrounding Ascent, venturing deeper into working-class areas. Sarah kept 3 cars between them, her heart pounding. Was he meeting contacts, selling Ascent's intellectual property? Every mile was a new question, each one ratcheting up her suspense. She felt a strange mix of fear and excitement, much like when she was about to close a major business deal. 20 minutes later, Daniel parked outside a run-down community center. A faded sign read, "West Side Learning Hub." Daniel pulled a worn backpack from his trunk and went inside. Sarah waited 5 minutes before following. Through a window, she could see Daniel setting up laptops in what appeared to be a classroom. Children began to file in, mostly teenagers, some younger, from diverse backgrounds. Daniel greeted each by name, helping them settle at their workstations. This scene was a complete antithesis to Sarah's imaginings. Her certainty began to waver, and a sense of confusion mixed with curiosity emerged. She couldn't reconcile the image of the spy she had painted in her head with this patient man. Confused, Sarah slipped inside, lingering in the hallway. She could hear Daniel's voice, warm and authoritative in a way she'd never heard at Ascent. "Remember what we discussed about algorithmic efficiency? Today, we're going to put that into practice. Let's build something that actually helps people." Sarah peeked through the doorframe. Daniel stood before a whiteboard, diagramming a complex software flowchart. The teenagers watched intently as his confident hands mapped out connections between modules. Those hands, only hours ago emptying trash at Ascent, were now guiding a small revolution. Sarah felt a shift in perception. This wasn't the behavior of a spy, but of a teacher, an architect. "Mr. Hayes," a girl with bright eyes raised her hand. "Could we use this same methodology for the community resource database?" "Excellent question, Chloe. That's exactly the kind of application I was thinking of." Sarah watched, stunned, as Daniel guided the class through what she recognized as advanced, at least college-level, system architecture. These children, many in worn clothes, typed furiously as Daniel moved between stations, offering guidance with patient professionalism. Each line of code typed, each explanation chipped away at a layer of Sarah's preconceptions. A mild shame began to creep in for her hasty judgments, especially those tied to Daniel's appearance. After class, she followed Daniel to another room where younger children waited. From her hidden vantage, Sarah watched him distribute refurbished laptops to wide-eyed recipients. "These are yours," she heard him explain to a boy no older than 10. "I've installed educational software and basic programming tools. The password is your birth date, just like we practiced." The boy clutched the laptop like a treasure. This scene touched something deep within Sarah, a feeling that profit couldn't buy. A strange warmth spread through her chest, reminiscent of emotions she had suppressed for so long. She wondered how much of life's true value she had missed while focusing only on numbers and control. The moment of discovery came unexpectedly but inevitably. As Daniel finally exited the center 3 hours later, Sarah concealed herself behind a pillar. She watched him load empty boxes back into his car. The same boxes she'd seen him carry out of Ascent, not stolen technology, but donated equipment. Her phone buzzed with an urgent email from her assistant. Distracted, Sarah didn't notice Daniel approaching until he spoke. Daniel paused, recognizing the familiar figure lurking in the shadows. A flicker of alarm crossed his face. "Miss Jenkins." The CEO, what was she doing here at this hour? His heart tightened. Had they finally found out? Would everything he had tried to build crumble? "Mr. Jenkins, is everything all right?" He tried to keep his voice level, but inwardly a profound fear churned. She froze, caught red-handed in her surveillance. Daniel stood a respectful distance away, his tired face etched with confusion. "I was just making a donation," she improvised, gesturing vaguely towards the center. Daniel's expression remained neutral, but his eyes, surprisingly sharp and intelligent, reflected skepticism. He was all too familiar with scrutinizing gazes, the preconceptions people held because of his cleaning job and his appearance. An old bitterness resurfaced. "The center always appreciates support," he said carefully, "especially from someone like you, a person of influence." He paused. "If you're interested in the program, I'd be happy to give you a tour sometime. We teach coding, digital literacy, resume building, basic skills that can lift these kids out of the poverty cycle. Are you qualified to teach these?" The question slipped out more accusatory than intended, a remnant of her old suspicion. Daniel felt a wave of weariness wash over him. Those questions again, the suspicion again, he was used to it. Something flickered in Daniel's expression. "Good night, Miss Jenkins." He turned towards his car without a backward glance, leaving Sarah with more questions than she'd arrived with. This brief encounter only deepened the mystery of this unassuming man. He felt a heavy sense of disappointment. Despite all his efforts to conceal himself, the preconceptions still clung to him like a shadow. The next morning, Sarah wasted no time. She immediately instructed her assistant to compile every available piece of information on Daniel Hayes. By afternoon, she had her answer, one that made her lean back in her chair in disbelief. Daniel Hayes wasn't just qualified to teach coding. According to archived articles and patents, he was formerly Jonathan Daniel Hayes, a senior systems architect at InnovateSoft. More astonishingly, he had been part of the original development team for the core technology that Ascent later acquired and built their flagship products upon. "This can't be right," Sarah mumbled, scanning his employment history. Daniel had held a prestigious position at InnovateSoft, then abruptly disappeared 5 years ago. Deeper digging revealed the reason: a wrongful termination lawsuit Daniel had filed against InnovateSoft's then CEO, Mr. Blackwood. The suit claimed Daniel had been fired after blowing the whistle on unsafe shortcuts in medical software that could jeopardize patients. Though Daniel eventually won the suit with a modest settlement, Blackwood blacklisted him throughout the industry. Soon after, Daniel's wife died of cancer, leaving him to raise their daughter alone. This new insight into Daniel changed everything. That night, Sarah returned to the community center, this time walking directly to the administrative office, no longer a stealthy observer but a seeker of answers. The director, an older woman named Diane, greeted her with surprise when Sarah introduced herself as Ascent's CEO. "Daniel never mentioned knowing anyone from Ascent," Diane remarked. "We don't really know each other," Sarah admitted. "I was curious about your program here." Diane's pride was evident as she explained. "We serve mostly immigrant and low-income families. Many parents work multiple jobs, leaving their children unsupervised. Our center provides a safe space, meals, and education." She paused. "Daniel's program has really transformed things. Before him, we could barely offer basic computer access. Now we have coding classes, digital literacy, even internship prep. And Daniel provides it all for free." Diane's expression softened. "He volunteers all his time. The equipment comes from donations he somehow finds: refurbished laptops, monitors, cables. We've seen kids who couldn't turn on a computer now building websites for local businesses." Sarah followed Diane to a small classroom where Daniel sat with an elderly woman, patiently showing her how to use video calling software. "She hasn't seen her grandchildren in Venezuela in 8 years, Diane explained softly. Daniel set up the connection and taught her how to use it. As they toured the facility, Sarah noticed how makeshift everything was. Outdated equipment, furniture held together with tape, leaky ceilings with strategically placed buckets. Yet somehow the space still exuded purpose and hope. "Our biggest challenge is space and equipment," Diane confided. "We have a waiting list of 60 kids. Daniel has worked miracles with what he finds." "But what if someone wanted to help?" Sarah asked. Diane's eyes widened. "That would be extraordinary." A new idea formed in Sarah's mind, one that transcended spreadsheets and profit. For the first time in years, she felt an impulse, unrelated to personal or corporate gain, one that stemmed from a deeper place within her heart. It was a seed of compassion which had begun to sprout. That idea quickly became action. The very next day, Sarah authorized Ascent to make an anonymous donation to the West Side Learning Hub, enough to repair the building, purchase new equipment, and expand the program space. When Daniel arrived that evening and saw new computers being installed, Diane simply said they'd received an unexpected blessing. In the following weeks, a subtle but profound shift occurred in Sarah. She found herself manufacturing reasons to work late, observing Daniel from a distance. Once aware of his background, she noticed inconsistencies in his daily behavior. The way he methodically arranged server cables that most cleaners would haphazardly coil. The way his eyes lingered on code displayed on developer screens. The way he carefully handled electronics others might consider trash. When developers left prototype tablets unattended, Daniel didn't steal them. He adjusted their position to prevent overheating. When confidential documents were carelessly left out, he didn't photograph them. He placed them in secure drawers. The man she suspected of corporate espionage was, in fact, providing uncompensated security oversight. Sarah recognized her own carelessness. This shame was far deeper than before. She wasn't just wrong about Daniel. She had been blind to a remarkable human being. The shell of confidence and coldness she'd built for years began to crack, not just by logic, but by a sense of humanity. This revelation was still fresh in Sarah when crisis hit Ascent. 3 days before the major product launch, the development team discovered a critical bug in their flagship software, one that threatened to delay the release by months and potentially cost millions in revenue and stock devaluation. The executive floor became a battlefield of blame and panic. Sarah ordered an emergency meeting of all senior engineering staff. Proposed solutions were either too time-consuming or risked introducing new problems. As the meeting devolved into recriminations, Sarah, with her new eyes, noticed Daniel quietly cleaning the adjacent boardroom, his reflection in the glass showing a look of worried concentration. In their chaos, Daniel, a maintenance worker, was composed and focused. Sarah felt a powerful urge, an intuitive belief that he might be the answer. It was a completely irrational impulse for a CEO, but she couldn't shake it. Perhaps this was the time to listen to her heart, rather than just the spreadsheets. On a sudden hunch, a spark of hope, Sarah stepped out of the meeting. "Daniel, may I speak with you for a moment?" He followed her to a quiet corner, maintaining a respectful distance. Daniel was surprised Miss Jenkins sought him out. He felt a mix of curiosity and wariness. What was happening? Did she know? "You were part of the original InnovateSoft team that developed our core framework," she stated bluntly, bypassing all pleasantries. Daniel's expression revealed nothing but his usual calm. Inwardly, a tempest raged. She knows? How? He had tried to bury that past, to let it lie. The external calm was merely a veneer for the rising tension within. "You looked into me." It wasn't a question, but a statement, laced with a touch of bitterness. "Yes." Sarah met his gaze directly. "We're experiencing a critical system failure in the integration layer. Given your background, I wondered if you might have any insights." This was a leap of faith, staking the company on a man she had once suspected. Her heart pounded. Was this a crazy decision, or a moment of genius? She wasn't sure, but she trusted her gut. An unprecedented gamble born of a newfound belief in human worth, transcending all prejudices. Daniel was shocked. She didn't want to fire him. She wanted his help. A strange, long-buried feeling began to stir. The feeling of being recognized, of being seen not for his janitor's uniform, but for his mind. For a long moment, Daniel said nothing. Then his gaze sharpened. "May I see the error logs?" Sarah led him to her office, ignoring the astonished stares from executives as the cleaner followed her. She pulled up the diagnostic reports on her screen. Daniel studied them intently, his posture subtly shifting as he leaned forward, a distinct transformation as the cleaner receded and the true architect emerged. His fingers hovered curiously over the keyboard. When Sarah nodded permission, he began to type with confident precision. navigating the complex system architecture with clear familiarity. The professional blood coursed through him again. How long had it been since he had touched complex code, problems truly worthy of his intellect? While he was reading, Archelia clenched. After 20 minutes of focused work, he straightened. The integration layer isn't the primary problem. It's a memory allocation issue in the underlying framework, something we ran into during initial development. He pointed to specific sections of code. These workarounds are causing cascading failures as the system scales beyond certain parameters. Can it be fixed before launch? Sarah asked, a fresh spark of hope igniting. Daniel nodded slowly. With the right approach. I'd need to see the entire codebase to be sure. Sarah made the boldest decision of her career. Come with me. She led him back into the boardroom, where the executives had fallen into a silent argument as they entered. Without preamble, Sarah announced, "This is Daniel Hayes. He was a senior systems architect on the original framework and has identified our problem. For the next 48 hours, he will be consulting our development team." A wave of silence washed over the room. The CTO frowned. Our cleaner? Sarah stared him down, unwavering. A feeling of pride and defiance swelled within her. This was not just about saving the company, but about vindicating her belief, and a man who had been misjudged by the very prejudices she and the industry had once carried. Daniel felt a strange surge of awe as Sarah laid everything bare. Her words, without hesitation, shielded him from the astonished, even contemptuous gazes. He sensed the sincerity in her tone. A stranger, a CEO, had seen his worth when the world had turned its back. Gratitude welled up, softening years of bitterness. Mr. Hayes was deploying advanced system architectures while you were still learning basic syntax. Thomas, I suggest you listen carefully to what he says. Her decision was a powerful statement about true value. The results spoke for themselves. 46 hours later, Ascent Innovations launched its product on schedule. The critical bug was not only fixed but enhanced by Daniel's solution, creating unexpected efficiencies that boosted overall performance. Stock prices soared 12% by end-of-day trading. In the glow of triumph, Sarah called an all-hands meeting. The entire company, from executives to maintenance staff, gathered in the main lobby. Daniel stood uncertainly at the back, still in his cleaning uniform. Ascent faced potential catastrophe this week, Sarah began. Our success today wasn't just about averting failure. It was about recognizing value where we failed to see it. She gestured for Daniel to join her on stage. After a moment's hesitation, he complied, discomfort evident in his stiff posture. Many of you know Daniel as the man who keeps our facilities running. What you don't know is that Daniel Hayes was once at the forefront of the technology that made Ascent possible. She went on to outline Daniel's contributions to the industry and the ethical stand that had cost him his career. While we walked past him to our offices, we were unaware of the expertise that was literally cleaning up after us. Sarah turned to face Daniel directly. On behalf of Ascent, I apologize and offer an opportunity. We would be honored if you would rejoin our technical leadership team, effective immediately. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Daniel's expression remained carefully neutral, though something flickered in his eyes. That's very generous, Miss Jenkins, he replied, his voice even. But I'm afraid I must decline. The refusal caught Sarah off guard, but also revealed Daniel's unwavering nature. Before she could respond, Daniel continued, his voice infused with a new certainty. 5 years ago, I made a choice between career advancement and ethical responsibility. That choice cost me my career, but preserved something far more valuable. His voice gained confidence as he spoke. In losing that world, I found another. The children and families I work with at the Westside Learning Hub need advocates and mentors more than this company needs another systems architect. Sarah quickly regained her composure, respecting his choice but undeterred. Then I propose an alternative. Ascent will establish a technology outreach initiative with the Westside Learning Hub as our primary partner. We'll provide equipment, curriculum development, and internship pathways. Most importantly, we need a director of community technology outreach to lead this initiative. She extended her hand. "The position is yours if you want it." The main hall erupted in applause. Something magical happened to Daniel's face. A genuine smile transformed his features, erasing years of careful guardedness. "This," he said, taking her hand, "is an offer I would be honored to accept." A new chapter had opened for both Daniel and Ascent, bridging business with community. The transformation began immediately. Daniel continued his evening classes at Westside, now with full financial backing from Ascent. Sarah visited frequently, initially to oversee the investment, then increasingly because she found herself drawn to the center's energy and purpose. On one such evening, she arrived to find Daniel teaching Lily and a group of children, including her own son, Ben. She hadn't planned for this intersection in their personal lives, but watching Ben captivated by learning, his eyes alight with the same passion she once held for technology, before the pressures of executive life had dimmed it, Sarah felt something rigid within her begin to soften. Sarah's walls began to crack. Daniel approached as the class wrapped up, his demeanor more relaxed in this environment than at Ascent. "Ben has a real knack for spatial thinking," he said. "He solved a three-dimensional modeling challenge most adults struggle with." "I never showed much interest in my work before," Sarah admitted, watching her son help younger kids put away materials. "Perhaps because corporate software lacks dinosaurs and spaceships," Daniel offered with a flash of unexpected humor. Sarah found herself laughing, a genuine sound that surprised them both. "Good point." The humor had bridged a small chasm between them. As the weeks unfolded, the initiative expanded. Ascent became a part of the West Side community. Ascent employees began volunteering their expertise, former center students returned as mentors. Daniel's quiet leadership style, so different from Sarah's directive approach, proved incredibly effective at building community engagement. What began as professional respect between a CEO and her cleaner, turned direct door, evolved into something more complex. Both were single parents scarred by loss. Both were driven by principles hidden beneath protective layers. In Daniel's dedication to caring for others, Sarah recognized a strength different from money, but equal to her own ambition. In her assertive efficiency, Daniel found purpose to complement his patient nurturing. They were, in a way, complementing each other. The tipping point came during budget reviews when Sarah, with new conviction, defended the initiative to board members questioning its ROI. "The Technology Outreach Initiative isn't charity," she stated firmly. "It's a strategic investment in future talent and community goodwill. Our quarterly engagement metrics show a 32% improvement in brand perception. More importantly, we've identified 17 exceptional students for our internship pipeline." "Commendable," the CFO conceded. "But the resources allocated seem disproportionate to immediate returns. Daniel Hayes built our core architecture. Then we demoted him to scrubbing floors because the industry blacklisted him for professional ethics," Sarah retorted sharply, not hesitating to expose the past. "How many other brilliant minds are we missing because they lack opportunity, not ability? This initiative corrects institutional blindness while building competitive advantage." After securing continued funding, Sarah found Daniel waiting outside the boardroom. "You didn't have to fight that hard for us," he said softly, his face etched with gratitude. "Yes, I did," Sarah replied simply, her gaze resolute. Their eyes met, holding longer than professionally necessary. It was a silent moment between two souls now understanding each other more deeply. That weekend, their children's playdate turned into dinner at Sarah's home, then stretched into an evening conversation after the kids fell asleep watching a movie. Somewhere between discussing curriculum development and sharing stories of single parenthood, personal barriers began to dissolve. "When did you follow me that night?" Daniel finally asked, the long-held curiosity bubbling up. "You could have just fired me for unauthorized computer use." Sarah weighed her answer carefully. Something didn't add up. "The careful way you worked, I needed to understand before I judged." "A rare quality," Daniel observed. "Most people find judgment more convenient than understanding." "I've been a victim of convenient judgment too often to trust it," she admitted. Their conversations stretched past midnight, two cautious individuals recognizing reflections of themselves. Trust, little by little, was being built. Their partnership, from unexpected to indispensable, bore fruit. 6 months after Daniel's appointment, the West Side Learning Hub held its official opening of expanded facilities. The Jonathan Daniel Hayes Technology Lab sign was a surprise from Sarah, overcoming his protests about recognition. The classroom, once cramped and makeshift, now featured modern equipment, comfortable learning spaces, and walls adorned with student projects. More important were the faces. Children from the community alongside Ascent executives, neighboring parents next to software engineers, all united in celebrating something built together. As Sarah prepared to address the crowd, she caught sight of Daniel, kneeling beside a young boy struggling with a coding problem. The patient attention he showed, the same focus whether helping a child or solving million-dollar technical issues, crystallized everything that had changed at Ascent under their unusual collaboration. When I became CEO, Sarah began her speech, her voice thick with emotion, I measured success through market share and profit margins. Important metrics certainly, but incomplete. She gestured across the room. True innovation happens when we recognize potential in unexpected places, when we value contribution over credentials, when we understand that talent doesn't always come in expected packages. This initiative began because one man refused to abandon his principles or his community, even when it cost him everything professionally. Sarah continued. Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.